The sun was just beginning to rise over the golden plains of the Australian outback when an unusual silence hung in the air. A small baby kangaroo, barely old enough to hop on its own, staggered weakly through the grass. Its fur was patchy, and the tiny creature constantly scratched at its skin, worn down by a swarm of deadly parasites clinging to its body. Not far away, a young koala lay curled up at the base of a eucalyptus tree, its ears drooping, struggling to keep its eyes open. Parasites had attacked it too, sucking away its strength and leaving it helpless. Two adult kangaroos noticed the suffering little ones. Instinctively, they bounded over, sniffing and nudging at the baby kangaroo, trying to help it stand. The koala gave out a faint cry, which caught their attention. The two kangaroos, usually cautious of other species, seemed to understand that both the baby roo and the koala were in desperate need. With surprising gentleness, they began licking and grooming the baby kangaroo, using their strong teeth to pluck off clusters of parasites. The baby roo trembled but leaned into the comfort of its protectors. Then, one kangaroo hopped to the koala, lowering its head close, and began carefully removing pests from its ears and fur. The other kangaroo stood watch, alert to danger, as if protecting a family. Hours passed, and the rescue turned into a battle of endurance. The adult kangaroos used every bit of instinctive care they had, grooming tirelessly, nudging the little ones to keep them moving so they wouldn't collapse completely. The baby roo, now able to lift its head a little higher, let out soft squeaks of gratitude, while the koala clung to the fur of its unexpected guardians, drawing strength from their warmth. But the danger wasn't over. As the heat of the day grew, the parasites, desperate to survive, burrowed deeper, leaving the baby roo and koala crying in pain. The kangaroos knew they needed water, clean water to help soothe and wash the wounds. So, together, they guided the weak pair across the dry land, one kangaroo gently nudging the joey forward, the other carrying the tiny koala against its side, hopping slowly but steadily. Finally, they reached a shallow creek hidden between rocks. The kangaroos lowered the little ones near the water. The baby roo dipped its muzzle weakly into the stream, while the koala drank in tiny sips. Then, the kangaroos waded in, splashing water over the young ones' bodies to wash away the parasites clinging stubbornly. Slowly, relief began to show. The koala nestled against a rock, its eyes brighter, while the joey managed a tiny playful hop. By evening, both little ones rested in safety between their rescuers. The kangaroos, though weary, kept watch under the fading orange sky. They had fought off nature's cruelty not for themselves, but for the fragile lives entrusted to them. And as the night settled, the baby kangaroo and koala, free from torment for the first time in days, slept soundly, guarded by the bravery and compassion of two unexpected heroes of the outback. The moon climbed high over the outback, casting a silver glow on the resting forms by the creek. The two adult kangaroos stood close, ears twitching at every rustle of grass, their sharp instincts keeping the night watch. The baby kangaroo lay curled up, tiny chest rising and falling in the slow rhythm of deep sleep, while the koala nestled in a hollow of roots, finally at peace after hours of suffering. For the first time in days, both little ones were free of torment. But the outback was never still for long. A distant howl echoed across the plains. Dingoes, ever hungry, always prowling under cover of darkness. The kangaroos stiffened. They knew the sound well. Predators roamed in packs, and a weakened joey and young koala were easy prey. The larger of the two kangaroos stamped the ground softly, a warning sign to its partner. Danger was near. The scent of the little ones, weak and vulnerable, had already spread through the dry night air. Before long, shadows moved in the distance. The dingoes were approaching. The kangaroos faced a dilemma. To flee meant abandoning the baby roo and koala, but to fight meant risking their own lives. Yet, the bond that had formed was undeniable. The adults had chosen to protect these little ones, and abandoning them now was unthinkable. The larger kangaroo lowered itself to the baby roo, nudging it awake. The joey blinked drowsily, still too weak to hop quickly. The other kangaroo gently lifted the koala onto its strong forearms, balancing the small creature against its chest like a precious bundle. Then, with tense muscles ready for flight, they prepared to lead the little ones away. The dingoes were closer now. Eyes glinted in the dark, a low growl rippling through the pack. With a powerful bound, the kangaroos leapt into the night, the joey stumbling at first but encouraged by nudges from behind. The koala clung tightly, its claws gripping soft fur as the kangaroo carrying it bounced steadily forward. The dingoes gave chase, their barks piercing the silence, paws thundering against dry earth. The chase seemed endless. Dust clouded the air, the night alive with the heartbeat of survival. Yet, just when it seemed the predators would catch up, the kangaroos made a daring move. They veered sharply toward a rocky ravine, knowing the terrain would be too rough for the dingoes to follow easily. The ground grew uneven, rocks jutting out like teeth from the soil. The kangaroos leapt with agility, while the dingoes struggled, tripping and slipping on the sharp stones. Snarls of frustration filled the night, but the predators dared not risk their paws in the treacherous ravine. Slowly, their growls faded into the distance, leaving behind the echo of failure. Panting heavily, the kangaroos slowed near a cluster of boulders that formed a natural shelter. Here, safe for the moment, they lowered their precious charges. The joey collapsed in exhaustion, trembling, while the koala curled tightly, eyes wide from the chaos. The kangaroos stood tall, scanning the horizon. The danger had passed, but the night was far from over. For several days, the small family remained close to the ravine. The creek nearby provided water, and eucalyptus leaves gave the koala strength. Slowly, both little ones recovered. The parasites that once tormented them were gone, their wounds healing under the careful grooming and watch of the adults. Yet, nature had another trial waiting. The dry season had arrived with merciless intensity. The once gentle creek shrank day by day, until it was little more than a trickle. The eucalyptus leaves grew sparse and brittle, forcing the koala to climb higher in search of food. The baby roo grew restless, eager to test its legs, but hunger gnawed at its belly. The adult kangaroos knew they had to move again, farther than before, to find safety and abundance. And so began another journey. They traveled at dawn and dusk, avoiding the midday sun that scorched the land. The baby roo grew stronger each day, able to hop farther without stumbling, while the koala clung to its guardians, watching the vast world roll past with curious eyes. Together, they crossed dry plains, skirted snake-filled grasslands, and braved sudden storms that swept across the desert. But the hardest challenge came when they reached the edge of a wide, open plain where food was scarce and predators thrived. Here, they encountered not dingoes, but wedge-tailed eagles, giant birds of prey circling overhead, their sharp eyes scanning for weakness. The joey, still small, was the perfect target. The kangaroos moved cautiously, keeping the little ones close between them. But one eagle dove suddenly, wings slicing the air. The shadow fell across the ground, and in an instant, the joey froze, terrified. With lightning speed, one of the kangaroos launched upward, its powerful legs propelling it high enough to meet the eagle mid-dive. With a loud thud, the kangaroo's forearm struck the bird, knocking it off balance. The eagle shrieked in fury and pulled away, circling higher into the sky. The joey scrambled under the belly of the second kangaroo, trembling but safe. The koala, sensing the danger, pressed itself tightly into the kangaroo's fur. The attack had been repelled, but the message was clear: the open plain was no place to linger. Pushing themselves harder, the group crossed into safer lands, where gum trees grew tall and thick, offering shelter and food. Here, at last, the young koala found a new home. With the strength it had regained, it climbed the branches confidently, nibbling fresh leaves under the watchful eyes of its guardians. The baby roo, now stronger and bolder, hopped circles around the adults, playful energy returning at last. And yet, even as the koala settled into its tree and the joey practiced leaps beside its protectors, the bond between them remained unbroken. Though nature had thrown every trial at them, parasites, predators, hunger, and storms, the unlikely family had endured. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky in shades of fire and gold, the baby kangaroo and koala rested side by side, drowsy and content. The adult kangaroos stood nearby, silhouettes against the fading light. They were not related by blood, but by something deeper: the choice to protect, to nurture, and to stand against the cruelty of the wild together. From that day forward, the koala often climbed down to sit beside its kangaroo friends, grooming the joey or simply resting in their shade. The joey, no longer fragile, treated the koala as a sibling, nudging it playfully or bringing it leaves from low branches. And the adult kangaroos watched with quiet pride, guardians of a bond that few would ever witness but that would forever echo in the hidden corners of the Australian outback. For in the wild, survival was rarely gentle. Yet sometimes, compassion could rise stronger than instinct, turning strangers into family and danger into stories of hope. And so, the tale of two brave kangaroos, a rescued joey, and a fragile koala lived on, not as just another fight for survival, but as proof that even in the harshest wilderness, love and courage could change destinies.